Knowledge for Men, Episode 7.
Welcome to knowledgeformen.com, interviewing the most successful and inspiring people to give you real-world advice to rise above the odds, live a life of purpose, reach your full potential, and become the man you were born to be. And now, your host, Andrew Farabee.
All right, guys, welcome to the show. I'm going to do something new and start out the show with a review of the week from the fans. And I'm looking here at the reviews, and one that really resonates with me is from Jason Kirby 26. Title, Nothing Short of Excellence. I have followed knowledgeformen.com for a while now and have been sincerely impressed with the content. I found so many useful tips about how to improve my personal life and journey as a man. Now these podcasts take it to a whole other level by having some of the best experts in the field sharing their insights. I've only listened to a few of them and I'm already locked in and want to listen to the rest. I will definitely be sharing this with my friends. Thank you very much, Jason Kirby 26. And for all the other reviews, thank you so much. It does so much for the podcast, for the growth of the podcast to get these reviews in. So if you're listening to this, you like the content, be sure to leave us a review on the iTunes. Much appreciated. All right, guys, and on with the show. I'm here with Kyle Ballarta. He is an entrepreneur, investor, and artist. Kyle is a part of the initial team at LifeProof, a mobile accessory company that grew from 3 guys to over 300 employees in the last 3 years, which later led to its acquisition by OtterBox. Kyle advises as a board member and an advisor to a number of companies and nonprofits. With his experiences in the arts and entrepreneurship, he has been able to share a unique perspective on creativity, entrepreneurship, and the journey we call life. Kyle, I am happy to have you on the show.
Thanks, Andrew. It's great to be here on the show with you, and I'm looking forward to being able to share my experiences with you.
All right, go ahead and kickstart the show, Kyle, with a favorite success quote of yours and why.
Essentially, like the quote that really resonated with me, especially with my background, was every entrepreneur is an artist and every artist is an entrepreneur. So, I mean, that's something that's really resonated with me as like a creator with my background in the arts and then transferring over to entrepreneurship and business as a vehicle for creating and innovating. But that's been like a quote that's really resonated with me in my background and what I do today.
I like that. And how long have you applied that quote into your life?
I think just recently within the last 3 years, it didn't really resonate with me until I was able to reconcile my background. So I think a lot of people have a lot of experiences. People go through this journey where they're like, I'm not quite sure what this means in my life. And a lot of people are trying to figure out what they want to do with their career. Every milestone is a culmination of those experiences that we have. And for me, it was doing music and the arts. And it never made any sense until I got a point where I was like, okay, now arts and creativity plays a huge role in entrepreneurship and to build things that haven't been created, and you start to connect the dots. So a lot of the things everything that I did before never made sense until a certain point, but you have to trust those paths, and I think it's starting to make sense.
Yeah, you have to keep moving forward and trust that the path you're on will work itself out. Everything matters, and no time is wasted on anything. And now, Kyle, can you share with the audience your journey, your personal story of how you got involved with LifeProof?
Yeah, absolutely. So my background is actually in the arts and music. So I spent a lot of my upbringing playing piano, playing trumpet, and I went to the Interlochen Arts Academy for high school. I went to Cal Arts to study trumpet, also interdisciplinary art. So I had gone on this path expecting to be an artist and to be a musician. And then eventually I faced some health issues that required me to pivot and essentially become an entrepreneur because I couldn't be a musician anymore. So what I had to do is figure out what fulfilled me as an artist. And essentially that was, I needed to create, I needed to innovate, I needed to create a connection with an audience. And I found that as business and entrepreneurship as a vehicle to be able to do that. So in the past, trumpet and music was a vehicle for me to create those connections with an audience. And through entrepreneurship, I was able to achieve that as well. So I ended up doing an MBA after I completed my music degree at Cal Arts. And in the second year of my MBA, I was asked to join a team to start LifeProof. A good friend of mine, Gary Rayner, was working on this project. And he always kept tabs on me because he wrote my recommendation to school. And during the last year of my MBA, we ended up writing the business plan, assessing exactly how we were going to go to market with this. And we just did it. We committed ourselves completely to the venture, and the rest is history. And it's really made a huge impact on the world and what we've known what we can do with our technology. So it's been such an amazing journey.
I admire the entrepreneurial background you come from, which is being an artist. You're using entrepreneurship as an outlet to create. It wasn't about the money, it was about innovating. And I really admire that. Now, can you take us back to a time on your journey when you encountered a challenge or an obstacle, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, that life-changing experience during music school. I had committed myself completely to being a musician. I went to Interlochen. I had went to Cal Arts. I'd been taking auditions. I've been already doing studio work. I was expecting to do this for the rest of my life. And then all of a sudden, I had some health issues that required me to have lung surgeries. So because of these lung surgeries, like I couldn't play trumpet professionally anymore just because it would be physically taxing to be able to do that. And I was so down on it because I committed myself completely to this. This was my plan. And essentially what that taught me was we all have plans, but where we want to go isn't necessarily where we need to go. And that was an amazing experience because when I was in the hospital, I was there for 2 months just sitting on this bed and not knowing where to go, what to do, was completely hopeless. But, I had to trust my path. And because I completely trusted my path, instead of trying to become a musician again, trying to beat my head over what I wanted to do, it pushed me further and further to where I needed to go. And that was kind of the route of entrepreneurship. So it was such an amazing, challenging experience that a lot of people only get to experience that type of challenge in their life when they get older, like maybe when they're near their end of their life, when they're like 70 or 80. And I was forced to experience that when I was 21. And I believe that has attributed to so many things in terms of my appreciation for life and what I value. That was such an amazing experience that I wouldn't particularly want to experience again, but I'm so fortunate that I went through it.
Yes, of course. You're experiencing a traumatic life or death experience at such a young age, and you gracefully pivoted into the world of entrepreneurship. Now, in the hospital, that must have been a very hard time. What kept you going?
Absolutely. So in the hospital, you literally can't do anything. So you're completely hopeless. You can't force your body to heal itself any quicker. You can't do anything. And I think a lot of the challenges we go through, we always assume that we can do everything ourselves. But you have to be able to trust your path, that your path is leading you in the right direction. So to be able to have patience was something that I had to learn really early on because literally I could not do anything. And it was amazing too to notice who came to your aid to be there to support you, and you actually were able to narrow down exactly who were your true friends. The people that show up to your hospital bed when you need it most was an amazing experience to be able to really see who your true friends were that were there to really support you. So that was such an amazing experience just to even go through it itself.
Yeah, in a moment like that, I could see how you really get to see who your true friends are. I'm kind of thinking, like, who would show up to something like that for me? And it's definitely not every person on my Facebook. But what are some of the key takeaways you had from that experience in the hospital?
Learn how to appreciate everything. For me, I could barely take a full breath of air. Like I couldn't take a full breath of air for like weeks because my lung was just really messed up. So we take a lot of things for granted, and something as simple as a single breath of air that we all take for granted, and I took for granted very early on. When I could finally take that full breath of air, it was like the most beautiful thing that I ever experienced, and something that we overlook constantly because it's second nature. But to really appreciate something as simple as that has made me really change the way that I look at life in terms of what I appreciate and the reasons why I do things. The reason why I create things isn't necessarily because I want to further like my career or I want to make lots of money, but it's because I look back at my experiences back on that bed, and there's so much more to life to be able to appreciate, to be able to really love. So it was such an amazing experience. Never would want to hope to do it again, but I really appreciate it for what it's done for me.
Yeah, it's funny how in our moments of despair, we really learn to appreciate the small things in life, and everything else just seems to be a gift or a bonus in life. It really just shows us how much we take for granted. Appreciation can just really go so far. Now, moving on with Life Proof, did you ever have an aha moment
Yeah.
where you felt that this company just might work?
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I think it's those aha moments happen when you find the team that you can surround yourself with. So I was so fortunate to be able to join a team of really experienced serial entrepreneurs, and that was our friend Gary Rayner and Dan Cosiel, and they had created other ventures that were very successful as well. And it was very interesting to be able to bring such a young blood like myself into kind of that, to being a new take, a new innovative look at things where they had a lot of experience of what has been done before. I'd come from this school of thought where like everything that hasn't been done yet, like we're going to figure it out. So it was interesting to be able to assess kind of like the market, the opportunity, and we essentially picked the mobile and telecom industry, which was growing quickly, and the value of it was massive. So we assessed kind of like the opportunity to take a small portion of that, and then even a small portion of that, even buy our products. So we looked at that and we're like, we have a great team, we have a great industry, we have a great product. It's a combination of all the things that are right. So we started to dedicate ourselves completely to it and get into these situations where you start to think, am I drinking my own Kool-Aid? But when we had our first litmus test of putting the product out into the market, we tested it out at the Austin Marathon, and just to see the people's reactions and faces, you can't quantify someone's reaction, just to see their face just light up and just utter shock and excitement of what our product could do. That was that aha moment. And you're like, combined with a great team, great product, great concept, good market, and then you see the customer and you reconcile that with a customer, you're like, that's it. So we planned on definitely growing within 5 years to a good number, and we definitely overshot that quickly. So it was such an amazing thing to be able to put all the right pieces together and take all the opportunities.
What an aha moment at the Boston Marathon it must have been. Just such a great feeling just to see all those faces look at your product. Must have lit up the entire LifeProof team. And obviously, you guys go on and great team and great product with all the great experiences you guys have had. What are some of the biggest lessons you've learned in building LifeProof?
That you're not an expert at all. Especially, it's interesting because I got to experience what it's like to be a disruptive firm or an entrant firm in an incumbent market. So essentially, there was a lot of other companies out in the market that created precedent that it was a successful market. And for us, we were a company that were establishing its own value network outside of the value networks our competitors had. And we had to be super innovative. And because we were super innovative, what we were doing, there was no textbooks, there were no experts on it yet, because we were exploring a space that was unknown, and we were doing something that was completely different. No one could tell us how to do it except for ourselves. And through that growth process, whether it was launching the company, building its systems, getting to that mid-size, and even growing to the 300 employees we eventually got to, and then its international markets, even launching into international markets, it was such an amazing experience where you constantly learn that as you continue to grow, you're not an expert. And I think even in our own personal growth, it's kind of the same thing, where you have to understand, if you continue to push your limits to exploring life and exploring yourself, it's uncomfortable. And a lot of people are scared of doing that. They're fearful of doing that. But it's because you're exploring something unknown, but it's so necessary that you have to be able to be comfortable with that.
That's so true. You're not an expert. There's always someone better, and just being comfortable with the unknown allows you to keep pushing through those hard times. I mean, building a startup from the ground up is extremely tough stuff. So, what is your key piece of advice on building a business?
I think it's a combination of understanding what the need is in the market. So understanding where the market's at and kind of understanding where the consumer opportunities are at. So what we looked at was there was an existing market out there where people were buying a lot of cases to protect their devices. But then we're like, there's a whole non-consumer opportunity out there where there's so many different pain points why all these other customers aren't using protective cases. A lot of people bought these cases, protective cases, for like very utility one case uses, and we're like, cases aren't just for active people, they're for the moms and kids, they're for the people that go to work, the dirty job workers, and why aren't they using it as well? So taking a look at the market and where the consumer opportunities are, what are the consumer opportunities that aren't being taken advantage of, and really offering a solution for that. So we were able to do that. So that's the number one thing. I think the second thing is building the right teams. So I think, the team that we started with, our CEO, Gary Rayner, had an engineering background with a marketing MBA. Dan Cosio had a sales background and a marketing background. And then I had like this digital media and this marketing background as well. So it was interesting to see like how we start to fill the gaps in the company. And we understood, okay, we need someone that can understand how to build channels, someone that knows how to build product and supply, and someone that knows how to create consumer demand. So understanding where the gaps are. So you have to be very real with understanding, okay, I'm an expert at this, but where else can I put another expert in? So kind of understanding how to build teams. I think a team is so important, and venture capitalists always invest heavily in people, because they know that as the industry, as business continues to evolve, it's going to be the teams and the management that will always stay adaptable, that will always make the right decisions.
So investing in the right people is what makes the business a success.
Exactly.
And how have you applied this advice into your own personal life?
Yeah, it's amazing because in the short period of time that I've been in San Diego, I've been so blessed and so fortunate to have so many great people around me. And when I first came to San Diego, I had zero friends, didn't know anyone here. And I've been able to attract and then be attracted to people that are like-minded in our community. And I don't have enough fingers and toes to be able to count how many quality, genuine friends that I have in San Diego. And I really use that as a measurement of success rather than anything else that you can quantify. Some people use money and assets and all those different things to be able to measure success. And I'd rather look at success as how many people that I've been able to attract as really good friends, really genuine friends, and those quality friendships. And then the seeds that you plant. And I love the quote that, success isn't the harvest you reap, but it's the seeds you sow. And I would rather use that as a measurement of my success here in San Diego. But within those networks, it's an amazing thing to see how, very much as if like you're in a company, picking the right people will always determine what kind of collaboration and innovation occurs within those groups. Like, will you raise your game and your standard? And the people that we've been able to surround ourselves here in San Diego is very much like that, where everyone raises the bar on each other and raises their standard. So it's so true that the people that you surround yourself with are the sum average, or you are the sum average of those people that you've surrounded yourself. So it's firsthand experience here. And it's been such an amazing experience to be able to surround myself with those types of people.
Yeah, that is really the secret to success. I mean, the quote is by Jim Rohn. It's you are the average of the 5 people you spend your most time with. And this goes with relationships, this goes with business, your health, everything. How much you read, your education. And it's been so true for me and you as well. So, since the acquisition of LifeProof by OtterBox, you've reached a level of financial success beyond, let's just say, the average person. How has this affected you? Has anything changed? Do you look at things a little bit differently?
Yeah, no, it's interesting because I early on, even before I even had money, I had to assess why I did things, and I always knew that it wasn't going to be about the money. That the investment that I wanted to protect was the experience, and that's why I continually invest in experiences. So like even after LifeProof, I've invested in going to Dartmouth and going on building these things in New York and visiting all these different incubators because I want to invest in experiences because the thing is no one can take that away from you. So I think it's going to be different for every single person because money amplifies the person they are deep down. And for me, like I was able to really understand, at least for me, for my own fulfillment, that it wasn't just about getting things, but it's more of a resource to be able to pursue my passions more than I could have before. And that has allowed me to be able to create scholarships up at Interlochen, my old alma mater in Michigan. It's helped me be able to support different charities in South Africa. And, and that's the things that really I'm very passionate about is leaving that impact on people through charity that couldn't be able to do that themselves. So money has been a resource to allow me to be able to do that further because before I could only offer myself, my skills and my time. And now I'm able to even amplify that and really grow it as a tool.
So, understanding why you do things before you started helped you understand that money is really just a tool for investing in experiences. And since money amplifies the person they truly are, in your case, it wasn't about getting money, but about using money as a resource to pursue your passions, such as scholarships, charities, and most importantly, leaving an impact on the community. So, I mean, it's just so inspiring. I hope all the listeners are just inspired by what Kyle's doing. And now, Kyle, we've just entered my favorite part of the show.
Welcome to the Knowledge Round, where the guest will be asked rapid-fire questions to give the audience invaluable pieces of wisdom to help transform their lives. Starting in 3, 2, 1. Showtime!
Kyle, how would you explain entrepreneurship to a newcomer, someone who's just getting started?
It's the commitment to creating something, to creating a vision that you have for someone. So building a connection with an audience. I believe entrepreneurship can be found in the arts. It can be found within a company. It could be found building a company yourself. But I think entrepreneurship comes in many different roles. But it's being able to commit yourself to a vision that you believe in absolutely, and then be able to do it not just for yourself, but to be able to further a collective, whether that's a company or that's your company or for the consumer. But I believe that's the entrepreneurship part of it.
And for those who want to get started and want to build their first company, but just can't make that leap or they can't jump from being a entrepreneur to entrepreneur, what advice do you have for those folks?
Yeah, I think fear is a lot of it. Through entrepreneurship, you definitely learn so much about yourself, as much as art. Like when I was a musician, I had to learn so much about myself. I wasn't learning how to play the trumpet. I wasn't mastering an instrument. I was mastering myself because through that experience, through that pursuit of understanding that instrument, I learned how to understand myself, what my weaknesses were, where are my pain points, how do I lift myself up, and how do I push through. So I think, constant discovery of who you are is very important. And then you'll also experience that in the journey of entrepreneurship, start to understand why you do it, why are you afraid of things, and how do you dissect that, and how do you overcome it. So I would say expose yourself to so many different experiences. Don't negate a certain experience just because it doesn't interest you. The thing is all about language. And to build those languages, you have to invest in those experiences and to learn new perspectives. So, expose yourself to new things, new people, new environments, and get inspired and learn how to discover exactly why you do things and why you're scared of things and how do you get over it. Because then when you can do that, once you can understand what your passion is, what you're inspired to do, then you can completely commit yourself to it. And I think that's the whole thing, is find what you're passionate about and then commit yourself to it completely.
I like it. Was there anything that was holding you back when you were part of Life Proof at the beginning?
Yeah, no, I think for me it was interesting because I was able to go into it. Everyone has like their bits of fear of like if it's going to work or not. And when I got out of my MBA, like I had some offers to work in very steady companies, corporate companies in Silicon Valley and different agencies. I could have done that, made a really good salary, and just like kind of worked my way up slowly but surely. But I had decided to go on this path, and it was because I trusted my friends that we did this with. And I was so fortunate enough to be able to have great friends that I could trust that, okay, I'm learning so much from them and I'm learning so much from the experience and the journey that I trust that we have a shot at this. But then you have these different you have the demons in your head. You're like, well, we only have such and such amount of dollars in the bank and we only have a few more months left, and it's like, is it going to happen? I'm going to be, this could be a complete failure. Getting over that is a combination of like that battling within yourself and then the people you surround yourself with, because the people around yourself will root for you. And going back to the friends that we've been able to have in San Diego and within this community, being able to have people that will root for you will definitely help you battle through those things that you feel like are holding you back. But definitely the fears of being able to do this, they're always there.
So, embracing fear, surrounding yourself with the right people who will root for you and motivate you to break through those internal barriers will help you push through those tough times. And moving on, what's the best advice you've ever received from a mentor?
I've been so lucky to have a mentor that wasn't necessarily purely a business mentor. He taught me more than just business. He told me essentially why you need to be doing stuff. Like what is the difference between success and significance? And I remember this in this talk, and he's like, you're not looking for success, you're looking for significance. And like, what can you do in this world? And he always went back to his experiences working with these large corporate companies that they have sharks within the company and backstabbers and people playing the game. People that by every traditional definition were successful because they had the assets, they had the money, they had the things, but they were never really happy. And they, a lot of them didn't live a good life. And if that's a measurement of success, then what are we actually really going towards? So he's really framed in my mind exactly why we do things. And that kind of brought me to the point where I was like, I don't want to do this for money, because I think money will always be a product and will essentially be a resource for me to pursue my passions. The reason why I want to do this is because I want to be able to contribute more. I feel more genuine, return for me by giving to others. And it's almost like a selfish thing where you, because you give so much to other people, you feel so great. And that lasts longer than any amounts of money. So very early on, he was able to teach me that lesson. And throughout like kind of the growth and the journey of Life Proof, he was always like, okay, now watch this dynamic. You need to watch this. This is going to happen. And it's been amazing to be able to have someone to be able to point out what I need to be watching through such an amazing journey, and to be able to have that framework of like, this is why I'm doing this, and how do I stay true to kind of the core values of what I had before we even did this. That was the largest lesson that I hope to be able to continue on to all the other ventures.
That's very powerful. Some people can go their entire life and never get that advice that you just got and that the audience just received as well. Kyle, what are your 3 favorite books and why?
So one of them is Icarus Deception by Seth Godin. I read that last year when I was traveling through Europe. And that was such a book on everything that I believe in. And I went and talked about like my background is in the arts and everyone needs to be an artist now more than ever today. And he writes this book and I'm like, man, this guy gets me because he's essentially talking about the same thing, which is like the world needs artists now more than ever. Schools are mass manufacturing and mass producing students. And when they get out, they don't have jobs. And why not? Just because you need to go back to that apprenticeship, that mentorship kind of quality education again. So then when you get out, you can create the jobs, you can be an innovator. And the world needs it now more than ever to be able to find solutions in such a quickly evolving landscape. So that book just like hit home for me. So that I would totally recommend that one. The other one that I really like is The Innovator's Dilemma by Clayton Christensen. And that was a book that I read and essentially it was a book that I read during school. And I've been able to experience firsthand being a disruptive innovation of LifeProof going into an incumbent market. But essentially he talks about how large companies only invest in things that are profitable today. And they make immediate return today. So they won't invest in an opportunity if it's not going to be profitable. So what that does is it stops them from innovating for tomorrow. So where other companies are investing in value networks for tomorrow, they had invested in value network that's only profitable today. But when tomorrow comes, their value network is obsolete and they're gone. And it's interesting because if you take that framework of investing and you apply that to yourself, a lot of us invest in things that will bring us return today. So, if you had 30 minutes to spend, we're going to go and crunch out work on your business, or are you going to spend more time with your family and friends? Like, are you investing in your friends and your family? Because the family and friends are a long-term investment. But then whenever tomorrow comes, will you have had still a strong relationship with your spouse and your girlfriend? Will your kids still love you? So it's interesting to be able to take a look at that framework of innovation and how do you invest in things and even apply it to our personal selves. So that was such an amazing book to read that changed my perspective on how we do things. Yeah, let's see, one more book. Something that I'm reading lately, The New Tycoons, is a cool book. Be able to see how people created the private equity kind of industry and essentially like how these people came from backgrounds that weren't even in private equity. They just had a passion. They were lawyers and they just had a passion for building things and helping ventures. And then eventually how they created like this massive private equity group, Blackstone. So it's amazing to be able to see like how people's journeys, even though they don't have the expertise, they have the passion for it. And then they eventually acquire those expertise through the journey. And that's constantly been my experience is, I came from an arts background that kind of gave me the creativity and the ability to look at things differently. And then I went and did an MBA and then learned the foundations of it. But everything I learned during LifeProof, I never learned in school. No one taught me that stuff. It was through that journey, through that experience that I had to acquire the expertise and the knowledge and the skill sets to do that. So it's interesting. That book was just an example of how this massive private equity kind of base came about, with people that had to learn it in themselves. So that was another good book I really liked.
3 awesome books that I'm going to put in the show notes for the audience. And on to the next question. What's one action one person can take right now that would get them closer towards their dreams?
Getting over excuses. It was funny for Lent a few years back. Some people gave up candy and some people gave up alcohol. And I gave up complaining, which was really challenging. And if you try to like watch yourself, how often do you complain? A lot of people complain a lot for no reason. And you're like, why are you complaining? Like there's so many other things you can be complaining about. And people complain about things that don't even matter. But people just love to complain, to be able to voice something. And if you can somehow get over your complaints and your excuses, those are essentially the things that are keeping you from doing what you want to do. Your excuses are, I don't have enough money. I don't know how to do it. I'm not an expert yet. Maybe I'll go back to school. People are going to judge me if I do this. Getting over those excuses, the exact things that are holding you back. So if you can somehow be conscious and aware of what your complaints are, what your excuses are, and just count them. It's an amazing thing if you just notice them. And then if you're aware of them, then you can just start to eliminate them. It's such an amazing challenge to be able to notice the things that you do and then be able to better yourself by just completely being aware of it.
That's an amazing thing to give up over Lent, giving up excuses. Imagine what would happen if the entire world had to give up excuses, like how much would get done, how much productivity would increase all across the board. It's just incredible. Okay, Cal, I have a scenario for you. Imagine you woke up and you were 20 again. You have $1,000 and a laptop. What would you do?
$1,000 and a laptop. If I was 20, that's funny. For me, at the time, I probably would have created art. I would have, if I had a laptop, I would have invested that $1,000 in equipment, and then also like this recording equipment right here, maybe some Pro Tools, and somehow like creating an audience that promoting that. At the time, at 20, I was still a musician, and essentially that's what I did. I created new music, and a lot of people within my discipline, they'd go out, learn excerpts and learn their scales and go take auditions. And for me, I was more about how can I recreate music, and how can I create interdisciplinary art that's not just music. I want to create art. So the difference between like being a musician and being an artist is absolutely totally different. For me, a trumpet player would have just been like, okay, my trumpet is it. But then I eventually got into like the technology of how can I mix music and how can I, mix tracks. But I think I would have invested in kind of being able to create new art. A lot of people that invest, whether it's $1,000 or 600,000 or $1,000,000 in like seed investment, I think the people that use those resources to be able to commit it to their passion into their art. That art could be a product, a venture, whatever, but people that use that for their art, you can never go wrong with that.
And I have another scenario for you. If you had to write your obituary today, what would it say?
I'm sure there's so many different wordsmiths that could put it more eloquently, but I hope that the gist of it is I was an entrepreneur and a creator and artist that changed many different people's lives. It was an amazing thing when we went out to dinner the other night, and to hear everyone toast for me before I went on my trip. I'm going on my trip to Dartmouth, so it was interesting to see how everyone, just their perception of me, and how it was so inspiring to hear my impacts on everyone individually and then as a collective. I hope that's translated in an obituary, the impact that I've been able to leave on people, and not necessarily the things that I built or accumulate, but the impact that those creations had on people to change their lives, to change the way they perceived life, and then to inspire people. And I hope that's the case. But, I've been close to death before, like on that bed. So it's interesting to be able to reflect on what would your obituary say. And I can say that I continue to try to live life to its fullest every single day, create things for the right reasons, that if tomorrow is my last day, then I would have had to live life the amount of time. And one of our friends said, what makes a man isn't the birth date and then the end date, or that ending date on our tombstone, but it's that dash between. So no matter what those two numbers are, the dash in between, the quality of life that we live, the impacts on the world that we had, that's what we want to be able to leave behind.
And Kyle, what is your philosophy on life?
My philosophy on life is that it's a journey, and you have to trust your path. And that's very philosophical or deep in itself, but I've had so many experiences where that's been hold true. And I've seen a lot of people that try to create their path, and they're like, okay, next year I'm going to do this, and after that I'm going to do this, and then when it doesn't happen, they're super disappointed, they're very down on themselves. But then what I've had to learn is, especially through like my health incident, is that my path is its path. I'm meant to go where I need to go, but I just need to know why I'm going down that path, and I'll always be in the right place. I'll always find happiness, because I'm not expecting, I know what I need to do to be fulfilled, but I don't need to be in a certain place or to have certain things to be happy. So my philosophy on life is, it's a journey. And you have to be able to trust your path. It's not written yet. So you can't write it. It has to be written by itself. And all you can do is just turn its page.
And the journey is just such a beautiful journey. You got to love it. You got to live it. You got to just embrace the journey that you're on and know that it's all going to work out. Kyle, I really love that philosophy. It's so powerful. It's so true. It's something I personally look into. And now, as we're coming to a close, Kyle, what are you working on today? What's exciting you today?
Yeah, it's funny because that path has become like cyclical, kind of like work from entrepreneur and become more developed and more established. And then now I've gone the whole 180, and it's funny because you've inspired me, because you've taken the leap, and I've always seen the passion, the fire, and the excitement that happens when you take the leap. So I've taken the leap again. I'm back into like that entrepreneurship saddle, and I found a lot of passion through my journey being able to assist with other early stage companies and entrepreneurs on how to scale their businesses. So I've been able to help that with our friends at William Painter, and then recently with our friends at Barnana, and to see the success and the growth within all those guys. So, the next path is helping more of that, more of those people. I'd love to be able to share my experiences with other entrepreneurs and ventures that committed themselves to their visions and super passionate about what they're doing, and see their growth in it, because I see the excitement in them and see their ideas come into fruition. And, I've been able to start doing that by, creating with my friends. So we're working on creating a venture fund to be able to offer those types of resources to a lot of people that need it in those early stages, to be able to support them and be able to offer our expertise as well. So that's kind of like the passion and the excitement. So I get to see the excitement in all these entrepreneurs, and then I get to see the excitement in myself, because it's a little bit of everything. It's exciting, it's scary, and those are all the different experiences that kind of make it worthwhile.
Kyle, you have such a bright future ahead of you. Your level of contribution, creativity, and innovation will surely take you to new heights in any endeavor you pursue. And Kyle, go ahead and leave yourself a plug so the audience can connect with you after the show.
Yeah, I have a website that's Kyle-Ballarta, Ballarta.com. So you can always get a little more information on there. I keep a log of the different projects I'm working on. And then also, I think there's a little form to keep in touch. And, I always love to make as much time as I can for entrepreneurs and people that are passionate. So I think you've kind of experienced that with the friends that we've had here in San Diego. I just love seeing people succeed and see their ideas come to life. So if I can help out any way, I'd love to be able to do that.
Kyle, thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your story and such valuable life lessons with us today.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, guys, that's going to wrap up episode 7. Thank you for listening. This is our second week alive, the Knowledge for Men podcast, and we have about 75 reviews on the iTunes. Things are going well. Thank you for the support. If you haven't written a review yet and you like what you're hearing, you like what we're doing, go ahead and leave us a review on the iTunes. And don't forget to subscribe. We publish new podcasts on Monday morning and Wednesday morning. So subscribe and you'll get those episodes straight into your podcast inbox right away. Check out knowledgeformen.com when you get a chance. I'm offering a free Knowledge for Men toolkit. Guys, inside this toolkit, it's $149 value. I'm giving away ebooks and dating lessons. Check this out. Primal Attraction, Get the Woman in Life You Deserve ebook. Dating Fundamentals, which is 3 hours of video lessons with dating expert Brian Burke. Breakthrough, the 25 Points to Financial Freedom ebook. Find Your Passion and Crush Life guide. Optimal Performance, A Man's Guide to a Healthy Life ebook. Guys, this is $149 value. Yours free. Go to knowledgeformen.com/free tools and pick it up while it's still there. All right, guys, have a great day and crush life.
Thank you for listening to the Knowledge for Men podcast show. Now go crush the day, live better, take action, and get the life you've always dreamed of.